Okay. I understand we're back on the record. Now that we are back on the record, let the record reflect that all discussions during closed session were limited to complaints and no final agency action was taken during closed session. Now that we are back in open session, Mr. Lidovic, I need you to introduce yourself for the record. Mr. Stumbo, please introduce yourself as well.
Thomas J. Lidovic, legislative agent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Greg Stumbo. I'm an attorney for Mr. Lidovic.
Also, I will need to swear you in, Mr. Lidovic. Can you raise your right hand? Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Mr. Brinkleman, would you state the items in the complaint?
Yes, members of the Commission, I, as Enforcement Counsel, based on information provided by the Registry of Election Finance, filed a complaint on June 21st, 2022, alleging as against Mr. Lidovic the following violations. 1, KRS 6.811, parent 4, by knowingly giving things of value to former State Representative Robert Goforth in the form of unpaid professional campaign consulting services to Mr. Goforth and his wife, Ashley Goforth, including advice to Mr. Goforth to provide false responses under oath in response to the complaints filed with the Registry of Election Finance in case 2020-539 and the Legislative Ethics Commission in case number 2020-002. The second alleged violation was KRS 6.811, parent 6, by making an in-kind contribution to Mr. Goforth's campaign in the form of professional campaign consulting services, which Mr. Lidovic was in the business of and ordinarily paid to provide. In addition, third, KRS 6.828, by failing to disclose financial transactions with Mr. Goforth, provided as a result of the professional campaign consulting services to Mr. Goforth's gubernatorial campaign and the order to the national company for which Mr. Goforth paid, but Mr. Lidovic received credit for having placed.
The Commission has given settlement authority to its Enforcement Counsel, and he has prepared a proposed written settlement of the ethics charges. Mr. Lidovic, do you agree with the proposed written settlement?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Stumbo, as counsel, do you agree with the proposed written settlement?
Yes.
Mr. Lidovic, do you waive the preliminary inquiry and waive further preliminary proceedings and request the matter proceed to an adjudicatory hearing on the penalty so agreed upon in the proposed written settlement?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Lidovic, do you stipulate to probable cause to the charges against you as enumerated in the complaint and as recited above? Waive the evidentiary portion of the preliminary inquiry hearing pertaining to you, admit the allegations in the complaint are true, and stipulate the evidence contained in the June 21, 2022 confidential complaint are correct?
Yes, sir.
And agree to evidence shows you violated KRS 6.811 sub 4 and 6.811 sub 6 and 6.824 in the manner expressed in the complaint and dated June 21, 2022 and attachments thereto, and agree to waive your right to appeal this order pursuant to KRS 6.691 sub 8.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Lidovic, do you request the Commission proceed to the penalty portion of the adjudicatory hearing pursuant to KRS 6.691 sub 5 and 2 KAR 2 :02060 today?
Yes.
In light of the fact that Mr. Lidovic has waived a finding of probable cause to the provisions of the complaint, has waived the preliminary inquiry and further preliminary proceedings and wishes to settle, the matter will now proceed to an adjudicatory hearing on the penalty to be imposed. Mr. Bringelman, can you present the proposed penalties based on the findings of the proposed written agreement?
Yes, Mr. Chair and members of the Commission, the proposed penalties are as follows. 1, Mr. Lidovic is publicly reprimanded for ethical misconduct, and the agreed order shall constitute the written public reprimand. 2, Mr. Lidovic is to pay an administrative penalty in the amount of $1,000 to be paid by official check, cashier's check, or money order payable to Kentucky State Treasurer in care of the Commission at the office of the Commission within 30 days of the date of entry of this settlement agreement. 3rd, Mr. Lidovic shall notify in writing any and all employers for which Mr. Lidovic is currently engaged and registered as a lobbyist, and copy such notification to the Commission, informing each and every employer of Mr. Lidovic's status as referenced in the next section of the proposed penalty, that Mr. Lidovic shall provide a true and accurate copy of the settlement agreement to each employer. 4th, Mr. Lidovic shall not be permitted to register with the Commission as an employer or as a legislative agent or to, quote, lobby, as that term is defined in the Legislative Ethics Code, for a period of 6 months from November 15th, 2022 to May 15th, 2023. Mr. Lidovic's registration as a legislative agent is revoked as authorized by KRS 6.691, parent 5, parent F, for a period of 6 months. 5th, Mr. Lidovic shall, on or before December 1st, 2022, file with the Commission amended and updated registration statements disclosing financial transactions for business relationships with Mr. Goforth and any other legislator for whom Mr. Goforth has provided professional services but were not recorded as financial transactions, on updated registration statements for any such professional services provided from January 1st, 2020 to the present under KRS 6.824, and shall provide to any such legislator the notice as required by KRS 6.827, parent 1, prior to such filing. 6th, Mr. Lidovic's revocation or termination as a legislative agent shall be deemed effective upon signature, entering and filing of this settlement agreement by the Commission on November 15th, 2022. Mr. Lidovic shall have 5 business days from the date of entry of the settlement to file the appropriate termination forms with the Commission. Any employer of a Mr. Lidovic as a legislative agent shall remain registered, even if that employer employs only Mr. Lidovic as a legislative agent, where such registration by the employer of a legislative agent shall be held open until either Mr. Lidovic refiles as a legislative agent after the 6-month period of revocation, or the employer files a registration for a different legislative agent, whichever may come first. 7th, in addition, Mr. Lidovic shall, on or before January 1st, 2023, complete an education course of at least 2 hours as provided directly by Commission staff. And those are the proposed sanctions and penalties of the finding of probable cause and agreed order.
Thank you, Mark. I would note that Mr. Lidovic, to his credit, contacted the Commission through counsel shortly after the complaint was filed to request resolution of this matter, and has admitted his actions and expressed remorse for violating the Code of Ethics. Do any of the Commission members have any questions of Mr. Lidovic or Mr. Brinkelman? Hearing none. Is there a motion that the Commission approve the proposed written settlement agreement as an order stating that Mr. Lidovic is hereby publicly reprimanded for ethical misconduct, and the order of the Commission shall constitute the written public reprimand, is fined the sum of $1,000 to be paid by official check, cashier's check, or money order or attorney's escrow account payable to the Kentucky State Treasurer in care of the Commission at the offices of the Commission within 30 days of the date of the entry of this order, shall have his registration as legislative agent revoked for 6 months from November 15th, 2022 to May 15th, 2023, shall notify all current employers for whom he lobbies of the revocation of his registration, provide them with a copy of the settlement order, and file termination papers within 5 days of the entry of the settlement order. shall file amended registration statements disclosing financial transactions with Mr. Goforth and any other legislator for whom Litific has provided financial services from January 1, 2020 to the present, and provide any such legislator the notice required by KRS 6.827 sub 1 and prior to such filing, and shall complete an education course of at least 2 hours as provided by the Commission staff by January 1, 2023. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Moved.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Appearing to be none, all those who favor the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and it is so ordered. This concludes the penalty phase of complaint number 2022 LEC 002 as it pertains to Mr. Litific, and this concludes that matter before the Commission. Thank you.
If you will sign, I'll send you a copy afterwards. They may have termination forms ready for you. You can fill those out, and we'll give that to her.
Yes.
Back out without that. Send him a form about that financial disclosure stuff.
Obviously, what they do.
He
Okay,
paid
so
for
there is a
that.
form.
They will turn it off here, but he paid for that. Can he keep the badge, because he's gonna reuse it later.
Why don't we just give it back to
to
Give it
him
back.
after.
Okay.
Get it back
We'll
to you
hold it
after
for
the
you. We're not
6
gonna
months.
do
We're not
anything
gonna,
else.
we're not gonna destroy it. This is to get in touch, to do their.
Just at one spot.
They'll help with the financial transaction.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize for my phone
All
going
the
off.
instructions.
Well, that's okay.
And number two, you did a great job memorizing all those words and repeating them
Isn't that interesting about
without
it?
notes.
I know. And with a raspy voice that can hardly be heard.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
all that.
Good luck to you.
It's obvious it takes attorneys to write all that stuff because it is glossed over me.
Yeah, if I weren't reading it, it would gloss over me too. I had to mark spots to make sure I'd read it.
Well, we gotta go back to the.
Thank you, folks. Mr. Stumbo, Mr. Litific, thank you very much.
Yeah, well.
Still in closed session.
If you want to do an update on this next item, I mean,
Yeah,
session.
yeah, we
so
do.
We do.
Has he got just anything to update us on?
I've got Noah coming. Great, thank you.
We need to go back into executive session. Is there a motion to go back into executive session to discuss complaints in front of the committee?